Cardinals Corner from Arizona Sports.
Cardinals Corner from Arizona Sports with Tyler Drake and Lauren Koval.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Cardinals Corner. We've got to preview the first in-division matchup of the season and a lot of injury news to go over. And to join me to break down all of that is our very own Tyler Drake. Yes, he's back at the home studio today because he's been busy getting all the information on what's happening. Anybody headed to the IR? Anybody season-ending injuries? Is anybody returning this week? And could we actually see Brock Purdy in action? For all of that news, Tyler, guide us through it. Come on.
Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot to start with. But yeah, it is. I think our preview title should just be injuries because that is taking center stage this week. Cardinals, 49ers, obviously a lot of injuries to get through. Let's start with the big ones. Garrett Williams, LJ Collier, IR, but there's a silver lining. Yes, they're dealing with knee issues. Yes, they have to miss at least 4 games. But Jonathan Gannon today said, hey, there is a chance they could come back. So honestly, I thought we were going to get a lot of bad news today. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I thought just seeing the injuries happen, the knees especially, don't want to mess with it. I thought we were going to see more than maybe 2 people put on IR. Instead, it's those guys. As far as Max Melton, and this is the good news. Yes, injuries are still there, but this is the good news. Max Melton was back practicing today, so a really good sign for him after he was carted off, had the towel over his head. He had the knee issue himself, so really, really good news there. He was out there participating during the open portion. One guy that was not, though, Will Johnson, rookie Will Johnson. He's dealing with that groin issue. Does not sound overly concerning because, yes, he probably would have gone on IR if it was going to be at least a 4-week absence. But for him and Max, it's good news that there is no IR. It looks like on the horizon. They're just taking things day by day. Will Johnson wasn't practicing today, but we'll see how that progresses. And honestly, after this week, it's going to be a short week. So this could impact how we see some guys or how snaps are divvied up, what have you. So something to watch the rest of practice. But that's kind of where I'm going to be starting is just in the in-house. I think I got everybody because that was a laundry list of injuries today.
Yeah, and do you think even though Max Melton and Will Johnson not headed to the IR will not miss 4 weeks, do you think we can expect to see them on Sunday? And maybe not if on Sunday, can we see them Thursday night against the Seahawks?
I think if I had to put my stock on somebody, it would have to be Max Melton just because he was already back practicing. Who knows? Maybe they just wanted to be extra careful with Will Johnson and the groin issue because I think groin issues are one of those kind of like a calf thing that you do not want to tweak anymore because that could just add to the weeks that you're on the sideline. But just seeing Max out there and participating, that really stuck out to me as, hey, he could be a potential guy that could actually play after I think a lot of us kind of said, hey, he's going to miss at least a week.
And who do you expect to see to come in and fill those roles, especially of LJ Collier, who will be out 4 weeks, and that of Garrett Williams, who will be out 4 weeks, and then maybe a different guy that you want to see step up in case Max and Will aren't ready to go?
So this is where we're going to get interesting because here's the first thing, and let's get this out of the way first. Elijah Simmons got signed off the Cardinals practice squad. That was one of the guys who I thought, hey, maybe they could look at him. They really liked this undrafted free agent. They had him through training camp, through preseason. Obviously, went back to the practice squad, but that is going to be one of the issues. I mean, I really thought he was going to be a name to watch, and instead he goes to the Buccaneers. So that's a loss. That's a tough loss because they did really like him. I heard from multiple people that they really liked what he was bringing along and how he was developing. When you look outside of him, maybe PJ Mustipher gets some more run. Some of the guys on the back end, I mean, maybe Dante Stills expands his role a little bit more. We'll have to see. But I think PJ would be one guy I'm going to kind of be looking at maybe to take on a little bit bigger of a workload. Then you get into the Garrett Williams situation. And for me, I'm kind of thinking maybe it's not so much outside the box, but one guy that stands out, one guy who continues to put more on his plate, similar to what a Garrett Williams did as a rookie in his second year, Rabbit. I think Rabbit could be one of those guys who could come in, put some more snaps on his plate and really be that guy to kind of do a little bit of everything. I think Jalen Thompson's another guy who could also go in there and play slot in the nickel situations if they needed to. But I'm looking at Rabbit as maybe a guy because Jonathan Gannon said so himself, like our good players, they need to keep on the field. And Rabbit is one of those good players. He said the same exact thing for Garrett Williams. So that's where I go is like, okay, here's your heir apparent as Garrett gets healthy is Rabbit, because he's shown that he's taken the next steps. He can play that safety position. Let's just see if he can really move down there and play that nickel spot. And who knows, maybe that's just way outside the box. But I think in my mind, that's kind of where I start. And then if not, I'm looking at guys like Keitrell Clark, I'm looking at Denzel Burke, and I'm looking at Elijah Jones, friend of the show. Darren Hall obviously got promoted from the practice squad. He signed on the active roster today. But really where I'm starting at is going to be Keitrell, Denzel Burke, because they played last week. They stepped in late. They looked like they played pretty well. Obviously not a ton of snaps there, but at least for Keitrell, Denzel had a lot. He had 3 pass breakups. He came in right away. So I'm looking at those guys to maybe take another step. And then Elijah Jones, he's been healthy and active the past 2 weeks. I think he's going to be an active guy this week, just because of the depth that they need. And up against 49ers, I think you need as many as you can get just on the depth side of things. So look for Jones to be good this week. Look for some other guys to come up and maybe add some more snaps to their resume, like Keitrell. I mean, and Keitrell's done it before. He's been a starter on this team before. He's played a lot of snaps. So can he get back to that consistency, or can he get back to what he had a couple of years ago where they were really liking what he was putting on tape?
I think you nailed it there with Keitrell Clark. He's really the guy I'll be looking at, especially in those late drives against the Panthers when he was in there, him and Burke. Burke stacked up a penalty there on that drive that just felt like anybody under the sun was getting a flag and getting something called against them. He was a guy who stacked up one of those. But part of that is just like shaking off the rust. Like, we're back and you're not expected to do much. And then suddenly, hey, 3 guys have gone down and it's your turn to step up and in. I think it's really good news to hear about Max Melton as well, because especially anytime the cart comes out during the game and you see a guy with a towel over his head, you immediately assume the worst. You're going back looking ACL, MCL, PCL, what's going on, some sort of CL going down. But no, so happy to hear that that is not an issue for him. Will Johnson, we've talked about it a lot on the pod. As long as he can stay healthy, he'll be an elite talent for this Cardinals team. So hopefully that groin injury, which can be really difficult to battle. I mean, we've seen a few different teams deal with CBs having groin injuries already this season. I mean, the Bears look like they're going to be without their number 1 cornerback for the entire season because of a groin injury. So you don't want to rush that, and the short week with the Seahawks is not helping that. But a team that is dealing with more injuries than the Arizona Cardinals are that of the San Francisco 49ers. George Kittle out. He's on the IR with a hamstring injury, so we will not be seeing him. Juwan Jennings has been day-to-day for what feels like 2 weeks already, with a bunch of different injuries.
Feels like longer than that.
I know. I'm like, how are we going to be 3 weeks into the season and we're already discussing basically half a team being injured for them? But that's where we're at, because Brock Purdy, while we thought he would be out and the expectation was he would be out multiple weeks, Kyle Shanahan was not so quick to jump to the gun there today.
No, he was not. Chance to play, I believe, is what he used. And that, I mean, here's the thing. I think whoever's running the show for the 49ers, they're going to get by. What did Mac Jones do last week? Like 279 and a couple of touchdowns. Like, Kyle Shanahan got a lot of credit from the Cardinals this week, and he rightfully deserves it. He made Mac Jones look like a dude who could be a starter this league again, when I think a lot of us think, what is he doing? So Brock Purdy, I would say, like, if he's back in the lineup, it's going to be tough. It's already going to be tough against this 49ers offense. Even without Kittle, they still have another tight end who's doing some things. They're using multiple guys to get it done. So it's going to be really interesting. But it's definitely a step up for the Cardinals if they don't have to face Brock. But if he's not 100%, maybe they can get to him a little bit faster. I mean, Josh Sweat, he's starting to pick it up a little bit more, and I think he can be a factor this week. So it'll be really interesting to see. But the Brock Purdy thing is going to be lingering all week until I think probably day of, maybe, unless Kyle wants to shed a little light on Friday.
And we know he notoriously does not like to do so, because when asked last week about Brock Purdy and George Kittle and Juwan Jennings, his answers were no comment. And then asked about Brock Purdy, is it a bigger issue with the shoulder or the toe? Shoulder, pause, don't know if he'll play. So he's a man of few words. We occasionally get very few words out of Jonathan Gannon at his pressers. Kyle Shanahan is like one-upping this man to a new degree of basically, if they're healthy, you'll find out. If they're not, well, okay, we'll see. But one guy who is healthy for them, who would have thought I'd be saying this, is Christian McCaffrey. And he has lately been the Arizona Cardinals killer. 7 touchdowns the last 2 times they've played each other. I mean, he is hard to stop. And the concern for me heading into this game is the second that he breaks through the line for the Arizona Cardinals, who's stopping him now?
I would put it on Mac. I think Mac's got it. I like what I'm seeing out of Mac. I think he's still being used as that kind of hybrid guy, but he's working the green dot. I honestly really liked what I saw at Akeem Davis-Gaither last week. I thought he took a step, and I think he had 1 or 2 tackles for loss that on a running back who, yeah, he's got some power too. So I think the inside guys, I'm a little more bullish on than I think I have been in a couple of weeks. Nothing against Mac, but just taking over a new role. Who's going to be the guy next to him? The Kaiser-Mac combo was great, but I think this one's just, there's a little more oomph than I thought there was going to be, I would say.
Yeah, and we've seen Christian McCaffrey be able to slice and dice up defenses for years now. Now that he's healthy, I mean, that'll be the guy to look at, because especially if Mac Jones is in there this week instead of Brock Purdy, and he gets into an uncomfortable situation, Christian McCaffrey will be the first guy that he goes to. And the fact that he can run, and he's also a pass-catching back. I mean, when he's healthy, he's one of the best players in the league. It's just if he can stay healthy. So that'll be a challenge for the Cardinals this week. But let's pivot to the Cardinals' offensive side of the ball, because Kyler Murray spoke today and talked about just how much he loves, fair to say, playing in San Francisco, or Santa Clara, I should say.
Yeah, you got to say Santa Clara. You can't say San Francisco. It's not Candlestick. It's not in the Bay. It's in Santa Clara. Get that out of the way first. But yeah, it was. I mean, here's the thing. It's great because they all love to play on the road. I think that's one thing about this Cardinals team. Like, they like being in that hostile environment. It's just going to be a little rough if the Niners fan base picks it up and Kyler has a rough day, because they're going to look back at that clip and say, hey, I thought you loved playing here. But yeah, he said the vibes are great. It's outdoors, usually sunny. And yeah, he's played pretty good against this Niners team. So it's a divisional game. Everybody's going to have a little more extra mean to him, I think. So it's going to be close. I'm going to find the exact stats because he has played good. I don't want to butcher him, though. I don't want to go too far, but that's going to be something. And here's the other thing: the Marvin Harrison Jr. conversation with the targets, that was talked about a lot this week already by both Kyler and Marvin. Marvin Harrison Jr. wants everybody to know that's a silly conversation. They're 2-0. His focus on the Niners. Targets are going to come. Kyler Murray, yes, of course he wants to get everybody the ball, but there's only one. Would love to get Marvin 10 targets a game, but that's not how the offense operates. And yes, I think you can read between the lines there a little bit, because yes, I still think they have to be right. They're a run first team. They've got to make sure they establish the run early on, but you still have to go and find your guy. You've got to throw some more his way. Yes, some DPIs have been in there, but at the end of the day, you've got to see a little bit more targets there. And honestly, for a guy like Trey too.
And I think that is brought to the forefront of everybody's attention, because earlier this week, I don't remember exactly what site, but a national media site published an article basically comparing Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors' stats so far this season. And Malik Neighbors was far and away better than Marvin Harrison Jr., but that's also because it's the Giants. They don't have a definite run game. They don't have a tight end that they're throwing the ball to dynamically like that. So if you want to get down the field, your only option is Malik Neighbors in a lot of ways. And so that weighs heavily into who's getting the ball, unlike a Cardinals offense where you can be throwing it to Trey. We saw Kyler Murray throw a touchdown to Michael Wilson this week because there are other options for them. That being said, I do see everybody's comments, and I do agree with them. Drew Petzing needs to change things up a little bit. We need to see a little bit more dynamic of an offense, because you've played 2 teams you were supposed to win. You were supposed to beat 2 teams that look like they're going to be a bottom 5-6 team in the league. Yeah. And because of that, you almost want to test out your more dynamic plays against a defense that you think you'll be able to pay off, make it work for you. So now as you're getting ready for this in-division play, especially here against the Niners, this is a team that you'd hoped you'd sort of worked your kinks out against the first 2 weeks so that by the time you get to week 3 and by the time these divisional games are here, by the time that who the heck knows what's going to happen in the NFC West? I mean, we're 2 weeks in and I really don't know who I think the best team is in the league right now. And is Matthew Stafford's back going to hold it? Yeah, we know who's not. We know who's not. I'll leave it there. But,
I can't wait for Seattle to jump in the comments. Can't wait.
Okay, well, we'll see about them. I mean, they just went off and beat Pittsburgh there.
Okay.
So we'll see what can happen with that team. But, I mean, you'd hoped that the Cardinals offense would sort of iron out a little bit more, especially related to Marvin Harrison Jr. by the time we got to week 3. So that's then where my eyes immediately want to go, is what is he doing this week? How many more times does Kyler even just look his direction? Maybe the ball doesn't go to him, but maybe you can see a play call option where, okay, maybe we pass it to Trey for 11 yards to get the first down. But maybe Marvin's just running up the sidelines for 25, 30 yards and give Kyler an option.
Okay. Maybe. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. And who knows? I mean, here's one thing that I think has to change no matter what. No matter if there's more targets, less, there cannot be as many penalties. If this team can't play cleaner, they're going to lose the game because that's what's killing this team more. Like the run game's tough, but they're also not giving themselves any extra chances by shooting themselves in the foot consistently with penalties. And it's not here or there. It is a consistent problem right now that's got to get fixed. I even asked Kyler today, how do you guys fix that? Just got to be more detailed. And I think it's a simple solution, but everybody has to buy in and everybody has to get that much more diligent about not having laundry on the field because that is a problem. And yeah, give or take, you could throw a couple of those out there, little ticky-tack, but at the end of the day, there's still plenty of things that they have got to clean up on that side of the football, or not even on that side of the football, just in general, to be a better team overall. They cannot continue to be the sloppy team. And maybe this is the week we see that more cleaner, efficient squad after they've really gone through the ringer these first 2 weeks against, like you said, two teams that shouldn't have been close to begin with. And yeah, Carolina came back, but in a lot of prevent defense and offense didn't really get the ball. Some of that's due to, I think, the run game not getting a little bit more involved and actually moving the chains. But it's something that's got to change. The penalties, I think if the penalties are less, I think everything moves a little bit better. And I know that's such a little minute addition to it, but I really think that it could really change the tide for this team.
And I think you brought up another thing that could change the tide is finally getting James Conner more involved and becoming a more dynamic offense in that way, getting that run game back to where we thought it was. It was the bread and butter of this Arizona Cardinals offense for years, and especially last year. It was dynamic. We saw exactly what it could do. We saw exactly what James Conner was all about and what we thought he would be. And so far this season, there's been question marks about that because it hasn't been what we thought it would be. And Trey Benson's looked good so far this year, but I have bigger question marks about how they're utilizing the run game in general and about how involved they can get James Conner in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, and then you look at it, it's there is a new coach in that O-line room, and Justin Fry, and this is where I'm going because Clayton Adams is now the OC in Dallas, and look what he's doing with Javonte Williams. I mean, holy cow!
Week 1 against the Eagles, he looked like the next best thing.
Exactly, and that is something I think this team's missing, and I don't want to put that on Fry by himself, but I think it's also this O-line needs to step up a little bit, especially at guard. That's where I'm looking at this week. Isaiah Adams needs to step up and be that training camp standout he's been. Evan Brown needs to step up and be that veteran that has been trusted with this in this offense. And honestly, if they can't, I really hope Will Hernandez is available because I think that might be the solution. They need somebody to really just change things up. And I think adding a mauler, somebody that's going to be aggressive, somebody that's going to really want to make sure he puts the guy across from him in the dirt, that could do wonders for this team. Cram it vertical is what this team wants to do. How do you do it? Put a big dude like Miho in the middle and see what happens, because that's what they've done before, and they've been great. His run blocking grade, yes, Pro Football Focus is not the number one thing to go off of. Take it with a grain of salt. But when you look at the numbers and the grades, you can kind of see something. And here's the other thing, penalties. In 2 years, I think Will Hernandez has had 3 that weren't even, I think, accepted. And then you look at Evan Brown and Isaiah, they've had, I think, 2 each in at least through 2 weeks. So just a lot of things that need to be cleaned up there. And I think if that is continuing to be a problem and not getting the run game going, that's one way, I think, to jumpstart it. And I wrote on ArizonaSports.com. But that is definitely the big way I think that this team, at least in-house, can look at maybe taking that next step.
And do you have any final thoughts as we head into this first divisional matchup here for the Cardinals?
I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this cornerback situation, really safety rotation, if Rabbit does have to get more involved, how that plays out, and how Rawless can keep the Niners still on their toes, being creative with guys who maybe not are at that starting caliber level. It's going to be, I mean, that's injury. It's going to be injury watch this week, I think, across the board for both sides for me. But at the end of the day, I still think this is going to be a close game. And I really, I know we give predictions, but this one's tough. I wish we were doing it Friday so we knew exactly what was going on. I guess kind of exactly with questionables, outs, what have you. But I'm going to lean Cardinals by a field goal. Chad Ryland walks it off. Let's say that 23-20.
All right, I like it, because in my head I was like, yeah, 24-21.
Okay.
I think it'll be another close matchup where I like the Chad Ryland walk-off field goal, but I also wish that we could be sitting here going, oh, the Cardinals blow them out. And here you go. But we got to keep an eye on that injury report all the way up until game time, because we don't even know who the quarterback is going to be for the 49ers this week. So, something to keep an eye on.
Yes, 100%.
All right, well, with those final thoughts, we have wrapped up this first preview of a divisional game matchup. And next week, we'll be sitting right here doing exactly the same thing, because it's a short week and it's Thursday night against the Seattle Seahawks. Exactly what we're all very excited for. And Seahawks fans, just remember, Tyler trashed you just about 10 minutes ago. Yeah. Yep, those words did not come.
I love Seattle's defense. I love what they're doing with the defense. The offenses, I just still have questions about. That I will explain why I'm not on them. But their defense is elite. I love what they got going with the defense. Outside of that, no.
And there's your preview to the preview pod of next week, if you will. So with all that in mind, you can follow along, see updates of all the injury reports, see Tyler's articles pregame, and see who's actually playing for both sides of the team. You can follow Tyler at TDrake for sports. You can follow me at Koval_Lauren. And you can follow the podcast at AZ Cards Corner. And make sure you go to ArizonaSports.com to read all of Tyler's articles previewing this game, to especially see who's actually going to be in action and who's suiting up for both sides this week. And maybe if he's changed his tune on score predictions because of that, we'll see. We'll see. All right, well, be sure to tune in on Sunday when we will be right back here wrapping up all of the action from the first in-division game and hopefully a 3-0 start for the Arizona Cardinals. So with that, we'll see you guys Sunday.